Daniel Bwala is as confused as anybody. He's a very good friend of mine, but this is his own desperate moment to shine. If you are saying that somebody who is earning 60,000 naira in Nigeria is better than somebody who is earning, that means you don't understand what they call quality of life. And without understanding quality of life, then you can't understand what wages and income has, that the role they have to play. Let's do this. Let's place Daniel Bwala on minimum wage, 77,000 naira per month. And if you ever hear from him again,
let's move from
before
there.
the end of this regime, when I was actively publishing on Sahara Reporters as an investigative reporter, I came upon the first story of Femi Gbajabiamila having stolen his client's money, $25,000.
The same Femi Gbajabiamila?
Yes.
This same
Femi Gbajabiamila.
Are you sure it's the same person?
Yes. So in Atlanta,
he stole 25,000
from one of his clients, and that was what led him to run away from the U.S. Came back to Nigeria and joined.
What year was this?
This must have been in the 2000s. I can't remember the exact year. So when I did the story, I never knew who he was, and then someone called me, Abike Dabiri.
The same honorable.
Yes, he said Sowore, because I knew him when we were in the student union. He used to work at NTA.
You knew her?
Yes, I'm sorry, I knew her. And I said, I haven't heard from you in a while. And he said, what did my brother do to you? I said, who's your brother? I said, Waja now. He said, there's a story that you wrote about him on Sahara Reporters. Is there any way we can do to help him? Oh, wow. I said, so you know a thief? She laughed. And that was the last I heard of the story. So I wasn't surprised. In fact,
Omoyele Sowore is not holding back on the new explosive review. This time around, he is leveraging serious accusation against Femi Gbajabiamila and he is talking direct aim at the First Lady and Daniel Bwala. Is this the long political gunshot we have been waiting for, or just the beginning of a larger political storm? Omoyele Sowore said that Daniel Bwala is the most confused human being on earth. That is why he does not know the quality of life. Daniel Bwala came out to say that someone who is earning 60,000 naira in Nigeria is better than someone who is earning $200 in the USA. That is what Daniel Bwala said. Now, people are not saying that if they place Daniel Bwala with a minimum wage of 77,000 naira, which they are giving to coppers, that can Daniel Bwala be able to withstand it? Because this money is not even enough for people to feed in Nigeria. And he's talking about 60,000 naira. He said by the end of the year, you will not even hear about Daniel Bwala again because of one guy will finish him. That's why Omoyele Sowore said that Daniel Bwala is the most confused human being on earth, and he does not know what to do because he's so desperate for an appointment. That's why he came out to say all the rubbish, all the trash. But he said that someone who is earning 60,000 naira is better than someone who is earning $200 in the USA. How do you think about this, my people? So anyway, let us listen to what Omoyele Sowore have to say in all of this, and we'll be right back.
Court, I think yesterday, has rejected your application for adjournment, ordering you to return to court for the continuation of your defense in the cybercrime and all of that case. Give us an update on this, please.
Well, the update is that we are in court to defend what I call the indefensible. That is like a citizen of Nigeria in 2026 is being arraigned in court by a third party for an offense that practically does not exist, and it's cybercrime, which is based on an amended law that says that if you insult someone and it could lead to a breakdown of law and order, you are liable for trial. I do not understand where it came from, but I understand that the Nigerian state has a historical axe to grind with me. And I've been saying that since I was in the university, they've targeted me, and that was what led to my expulsion twice at the University of Lagos under the military, Babangida, Abacha, and then several arrests. NYC, I've spoken extensively about it. I went and did my NYC in 95, finished in 96. As I was about to collect the certificate, they arrested me, detained me, and I never got an NYC certificate till today. And subsequently after, it's been one legal issue or the other. But for the period that I was even outside of the country, for about 20 years, they were targeting me with lawsuits related to investigative reports that were published by SAR reporters. Those lawsuits are categorized as SLAP, the strategic lawsuit against public participation. So the moment I returned to the country in 2019 to start running for political office, they started targeting. In fact, they started before the political office. It was when I started SAR Reporters Media Foundation in the Ikeja area of Lagos that they resumed the hostilities against me. So I take it as one of the hostilities. In fact, in 2019, apart from being charged with treason, I was also charged for cybercrime. I was accused of the same offense, that I insulted late President Buhari. I was also charged in 2025 by the outgone, disgraced, illegal IGP 4 different times. I think 2 of them were also cybercrime offenses. So, but one I think has run through all of this is that they target my freedom of movement, association, and my ability to freely speak, because they know the power that our speech carry in this society, that it has that ability to wake up the conscience of the nation, especially this new generation of young people. And that is where the lawsuit came from. That's where this trial came from. And that is where judges like this come from, who say to you, oh, go and defend yourself. And we say, we're ready to defend yourself. And he says, oh, your lawyer should shut up. Come and kneel down here. That's the same judge that asked my lawyer to kneel down. And another lawyer, the new legal team came. He said he can't wait for us to defend ourselves properly. And as a result, he's trying to abridge our own defense time when he didn't do the same to the other party, which is the government. So I am not in any way surprised that this is happening, because this is the political season too, in which the current president, Bwala Tinubu, is doing everything he can to ensure that there is no opposition in the next election. And I think for different opposition groups, I'm using the word opposition loosely now, he has a position on how to take them out. So if he's not using the courts to deregister parties, he's using internal crisis to, timing the ability of the parties to organize. And for a party like ours that is ideologically different, they target the leadership of the party for incarceration and, criminal conviction that in cases that do not exist. So I'm used to it. It's complete political persecution. But mine just have lasted longer than several others.
Okay, you said the plaintiff in this case is a third party.
Yes.
Who is the person?
That's the State Security Service, the DSS. The law is explicit. That is the Cybercrime Act of 2015, which was signed into law by Goodluck Jonathan, by the way, that the person who is allegedly offended must be the direct complainant. In fact, that was how we defeated Buhari in 2019, and they had to drop that charge against me. And our argument at that time was very easy, that you cannot come and claim that Buhari would not come and testify or explain himself. And we had a lighter side to it. That how was Buhari cyber stalked or cyber bullied, considering that he has ear infection that he's been treating, so they just quietly dropped it, and eventually they dropped a treason charge. But one thing that is wrong and that's why we're trying to correct the wrong in the society, is that somebody will be completely brought under false charges, dragged through the courts, and by the time the case is over, the person is found not to have committed an offense, but they have ruined your life, your businesses, they'll try to ruin your reputation as well. And you don't get any respite. When they are done with that first hubris, they come with another one. They just keep coming at you and hoping for what could stick. That's the way I see all of this, yes.
Some human rights advocates, civil society groups have said all of these cases are geared towards silencing opposition. Just like you referenced, it will seem, there are different approaches to different yes. individuals or political parties yes. and all of that. But do you believe that is actually the case? And why are you playing, in your own specific case, don't you think you're playing into their hands?
No, see, you must understand Nigeria historically. Nigeria has defined enemies in different places or categories of intervention. There are people Nigeria defines as enemy of the ruling class from the ethnic angle. So if you say to them, we want a Nigeria that is working, and if it's not working, we want to leave, they will say you are playing into their hands. That's Nnamdi Kanu. The one that said, oh, let's manage our resources. Our environment is being destroyed. Ken Saro-Wiwa. You accuse him of playing to their hands, right? The one who said, we need pure political elections. People like Awolowo. Did they play into their hands when they sent him into prison in 1963? Of course. It's a system. It's a system that is rigged against justice. So anybody who is shallow-minded will say you are playing into their hands. No. What you need to do in Nigeria to be a victim or a villain is to do what is just and right. That's all. And to be consistent about it. The people who will do even worse things, say worse things about Tinubu, people like Reno Amokri, Femi Fani, the moment they play the game appropriately, they get into the system and they get rewarded. But those of us who refuse to be part of the rot, the ruination of the nation, we become villains. So you just need to have a good conscience and to be consistent in doing right. To play into their hands is the way Nigeria is. Ask yourself, was Abiola an activist? But the Nigerian people, in those days, some people, shallow-minded people, say he played into their hands by declaring himself president. What are you supposed to do after winning an election? And you know the results of the election. The man who conducted the election came back later and said he won. The man who annulled the election came back later and said he won and apologized. But when Abiola was standing up for his mandate, right, ignoramuses were saying that he was playing into their hands. But have we not come full circle? Should we have allowed the country to be ruined in 1993? Had we had that election honored, our democracy by now will be close to 30-something years old. And we would probably have been used to free and fair election because there's no way we would have stepped down from that standard that was created. We would only have had room for improvement.
People, you have listened to what Sowore have said. Sowore have said many things. He said that Mr. President Bwala Ahmed Tinubu is trying by all possible means to stop opposition party in Nigeria. That is why he has been using court suit to disregister political party in Nigeria, in order for them not to be on bylaw board. That if he's not using court suit, he's going to use one allegation of the other to make sure that your name is being erased out from bylaw board in 2027. That he was wrongly accused that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu accused him of cyber crime that he never committed. That he said that the people who are the main cyber crime people is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a thief. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a criminal. Sure, there's so many things that in the 1993 election, that the election was rigged to favor the other people, and since then we have not been having free and fair election. That is why Tinubu, who is a criminal, is trying to steal the mandate of the people in 2027 again, to go back and continue stealing money. I would like you to see the evidence on what Sowore say that Tinubu is a criminal. Listen to him. We'll be right back.
Playing into their hands. If I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I am, the substance of this case is that you called the president a criminal.
Yes.
That's it, right?
That's correct.
Now, I reckon in the court now, you're being asked to produce evidence to back up your claim.
No, that's the problem. Okay. The court doesn't want the evidence.
No, how?
Because
the court cannot ask you
the lawyer who was presenting the evidence, Marshal Abubakar, young, vibrant lawyer, was the one the judge said, no, I don't want to hear from you again. I'm tired. Don't make any more presentation. And the guy said, no, I'm presenting evidence. He said, come and kneel down.
Is that applicable in our judicial system, that a judge would ask a lawyer to kneel down? That's
what I'm telling you, that if they were interested in proving the case, the judge would not have lost his cool when we were presenting the evidence. We presented evidence in court already up to the points where he has a lawyer to kneel down. And we said, sir, we no longer trust you. This is implicit and explicit bias. We applied. I moved the motion that he should recuse himself. I said no. We wrote to the chief judge. They said no, he should continue with the case. There's no judge in the world who continues with a case legally if they've been accused of bias. Even during the military era, I mentioned Abiola a while ago. When Supreme Court justices were accused of collecting Mercedes Benz, they said they cannot handle Abiola's case because they cannot prove that they are not biased in that Concord case. So, in this case, this just says no. What I'm trying to tell you is that we were willing and ready, prepared to prove our case. The judge said no, you can't.
You have new lawyers now.
We have new lawyers.
And they're still going to present the
evidence. That's what the judge doesn't want. The judge is asking us to foreclose our case. The prosecutor is asking us to foreclose our case after 2 appearances of the new lawyers. That the judge should not listen to us simply because we asked for an adjournment. To prepare better, we have subpoenas that we have sent to the judge to sign and approve. He had not approved it as of yesterday, but he said he can't wait. And we still have more witnesses we want to call. We want to call the president to come to court. They don't want us to get that. That's how you prove a case. See, if the justice system were to be working in Nigeria, there's no judge. The person that is most patient in the courtroom is the judge. Very patient. But the most impatient person in our cases, in these cases, when you want to see injustice, is the judge. Shut you up. It's like a tribunal. Go to hell. They will tell you, if you are not satisfied, go to the court of appeal. Go to the appeal. We didn't come to you because we want to appeal a case. I was brought before you so that you can give a fair, balanced, and unbiased trial. If that fails, and I tell you I have no confidence in you, you're supposed to just say, I'm sorry, I have no interest in the case. Go to another judge.
Are you sure you can get justice?
I have never been under any illusion that I'll walk into a Nigerian court and get justice. Except on occasions where the circumstances and the situational variables don't permit them to do injustice. It's always been that the preponderance of injustice is higher because we exist in a republic, or what I call the Federal Republic of Injustice. And your Minister of Justice should be called the Minister of Injustice.
That's the Attorney General?
Yes, of the Federation.
Alhaji Lateef Fagbemi.
Whomever he is. You know, this is not my first trial. I was tried by Malami as well for treason.
You know, you said you are not under any illusion that you will get justice in Nigerian courts. That seems to me like a paradox or a sort of contradiction, not even a paradox, because so far, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think any Nigerian court has convicted you. Of all the I can say hundreds of cases you've encountered.
Because I have never committed a crime
Exactly.
before.
So that should
So
mean
no,
that.
tell me. See, the person that's supposed to be convicted is a person who has committed a crime and found to have committed a crime. So going around circles trying to hang somebody who hasn't committed a crime is not justice. In fact, the injustice starts from charging someone for an offense he hasn't committed. So, and a judge, and I'm very clear about this, I don't have to take permission from anyone. A judge who accepts to commence the trial of a person who has not committed an offense has started the injustice from that day. And as part of my bail condition, she restricted me to Abuja and took my passport. I spent 3 years unable to leave Abuja. First citizen in my own era who was restricted to a city, Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. He said, I can't travel 25 kilometers, beyond 25 kilometers radius of Abuja, which technically means that I can't even play to the airport, right? How did it end? Took my passport. I ended up spending 5 years in Nigeria, held up in Nigeria. So you expect me to think of that country or the judicial system as fair when eventually, at the end, she couldn't even continue the case. And they came one day and withdrew the charges. No restitution. They didn't say, look, Sowore, we're sorry for wasting 5 years of your time in Nigeria. It was only Awolowo that has ever been restricted before to Lekki, not the popular Lekki. There's a Lekki after Dangote refinery. That's where he was restricted. And Pai Modu, who was restricted to Auchi by colonial masters. And what was he accused of? What technically is cybercrime today, which is referred to as sedition in those days, if you say things that the colonial masters don't like. So why would you even be discussing conviction for a guy? I didn't commit murder. I wasn't involved in corruption. I did not loot anybody. I didn't engage in any criminal offense. All of my offenses are associated with exercise of my fundamental human.
My fellow Nigerian, you have seen evidence with your own eye. Sowore said that his lawyer wanted to bring evidence and prove that Tinubu is a criminal. But the chief judge of the federation refused, and he also asked his lawyer to kneel down. He adjourned the case that they should go to an appeal court to appeal the matter again. Have you seen that Tinubu is now using everywhere, looking everywhere to make sure that he succeeds in winning 2027 election? See how the judicial system of Nigeria is very corrupt, whereby the chief judge himself is Tinubu boy, is Tinubu that put him there. He don't want them to expose his master. He don't want them to expose Tinubu because Tinubu is a corrupt person. That is what Sowore is telling us. That Tinubu does not only end there. He went and bring Bwala, Gabamila, who are drugs addict people, who are people who are selling drugs, people that were deported from the United States of America. When they were deported, they were in prison, they deported them back home. Tinubu picked these people because they are his fellow cartel people. He picked them and put them in the seat, give them appointment, make them become ministers in order for them to steal Nigerian money. That is what Sowore is saying now. Those people, Gababila, Danjebola, are Tinubu people that they are people that they are the highest criminal in Nigeria. That is what Sowore has said. Can even expose the first lady. He said that the first lady does not know anything. The first lady of Nigeria, which is Remi Tinubu, is so stupid. Sowore said all this. He exposed them. He finished them to nothing. And this is the very end of Tinubu regime. Anyway, my people, I would like you to watch it and see it by yourself. See how Sowore is saying it and the evidence he's proving. And I would like you to leave your thought in the comment section. Let's listen to Sowore. We'll be right back. Listen to him and do not forget to share this video because we want the truth. We want a better Nigeria. Let's listen to him.
I'm worried, and many Nigerians are worried, not just, I'm sure you're worried as well, that outlaws, bandits, kidnappers, terrorists, insurgents could actually kidnap not one, not five, not 10, scores of Nigerians, and they would keep them in captivity for days, months. Some, victims, some kidnapped victims have been in captivity for months now. Borno.
And there's several of them that you and I don't even know
Know
about.
about,
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
So my next question, Comrade Sowore, is that assess President Tinubu's performance in the last 3 years on insecurity, on the economy, mass poverty, and the rest of them.
Tinubu came to fail.
He came to fail.
Fail, yes. And because...
Or he was overwhelmed by what he met on ground?
Well, I don't think he was overwhelmed. I think ab initio, he was not competent to do this job.
But he said Emilokon.
Yes, because that's how to politically appeal to his base. All these politicians, they have their base, and there's something we call red meat. So to ginger them, and let's use Nigerian parlance, you have to throw red meat to your base. And the word that was red meat to his base was Emilokon, it's my turn. And they could resonate with it because he had been one of the political undertakers for several of his colleagues who came to, particularly Buhari. So that reference was to Buhari and his refusal to openly endorse him for president, as he had expected. But he was never competent to do this job. And that's why I said he came to fail. And all the signs were there during the elections, the way he answered questions, the way he was unable to articulate anything. And some people have said that they were deliberate, so that people didn't ask serious questions, and I knew it and spoke against it, and I predicted everything that happened now. Now, this guy, I even went on Yoruba radio stations in Ibadan, Lagos in those days, and said, what the Yorubas call Emilokon will become Enikan Loba. Yes, which in English means you said it's your turn, but you soon discover that it is the person who gets touched that will feel it. So that's how to paraphrase it. And it has come to pass because this problem has moved beyond the natural theater of kidnapping, banditry, and terrorism to every household. I mean, nobody probably thought in their widest imagination that bandits will kidnap kids in Oyo State and keep them in Oyo Forest for 56 days. And the combined forces of the federal government could not penetrate just that circle to get these kids out. In fact, the bandits reportedly killed soldiers who were trying to rescue several times. And I have no doubt, and I'll say this, that I'm sure that this release was negotiated between the government and these bandits are somewhere probably smiling to the bank.
No, but that was not the reports we got. There was a shootout. Reportedly, there was a shootout. We lost one or two soldiers, even maybe an officer. And then, of course, some of the bandits were, neutralized. Some of them captured.
Did you see them captured?
We see some of them captured. We
you saw them?
We saw them pick videos. I don't know, but we saw videos.
And they told you they captured from that place.
We saw.
There was a time we used to trace DSS, when DSS used to parade terrorists. Yeah. And there was a time they paraded some terrorists. We took the pictures, and then another year later, that's Mary Oga, that notorious DSS, and we discovered that the same people they paraded the last time. So there's a cell where they keep people for parade. So when it's their time, they just say, come out.
You can't verify this.
Well, I could tell you that because I know them very well. Yes.
Anyway, so you're not impressed with the president's handling of the country in the area of insecurity. What about the economy? They are pointing at achievements. GDP has come down. GDP has grown. Inflation rate has come down. They are building roads. They are giving student loans, and the naira is firm, it's steady, even though it's high, but it's steady anyway. And then, of course, the FX balance, our foreign exchange.
Do you know what foreign exchange is? Do you know what foreign exchange is? It's the credit card for the ostentatious life of the elite. It's the cash backing so that whatever you bring in, And let me explain why. It's the reason that, Nigeria has almost the highest interest rates for fixed deposits. They can tell you America is about 4 to 5%. Nigeria can tell you that they want, if you put money in a bank, that they'll give you 26% or some high amount. They can even pay you in advance. So economically, it will make sense for America to come and have effects in it for their foreign, deposits in Nigeria. They won't. They don't even have anywhere because they control the world. But they will ask you, come and keep money, your own money, in the Bank of England or JP Morgan. These are private banks. And you then start calculating it and say, it's now at 63 billion. What for? Who benefits from it? It's those banks. Because you basically deposit money that's meant for you or for your country in their bank, and they're using it to do business. In fact, they might borrow that money back to you at interest rates higher than you have never had to do it before. They'll call it, don't you see sometimes they'll say, Nigeria is soliciting for Euro bonds and is oversubscribed. Do you know the reason why it's oversubscribed? Because the return on investment for Euro bond when it's Nigeria that is borrowing is the highest, because Nigeria doesn't have, they don't have good collateral as far as they're concerned. So, but they'll be celebrating it. I'm just telling you all these things they're celebrating. Measure it against the standard of living in your country. Is your life better? Can you travel on those roads? Can you really travel from one part of the country to, can you get a job? Can you sustain a job? Do you have electricity? If you don't have all those things, all this GDP, rebasing of economy, they're just rhetorics, just economic gymnastics to fool their way. There was a time in this country, I think it was Okonjo-Iweala, they came and said they rebased the Nigerian economy and it's the biggest in Africa, and everybody was celebrating it. And I said, this is rubbish. Because in South Africa that you claim you are bigger than, ask them, what is their per capita kilowatt in electricity compared to yours? It's higher. So it's just like somebody who has 20,000 naira, who decided that he wants to increase the value of the money by adding zero to make it 200,000 naira. But when you go and use the money to buy something, you still have 20,000 naira technically. That's what rebasing is about. But they know what they are doing because they have a country to fool. The World Bank, who is their boss, IMF, who is their supervisor, said that these guys cannot account for 8.3 trillion naira. 8.8 trillion naira. The National Assembly, which is a rubber stamp, says to you that 210 trillion naira is missing from NNPC. They can't even get the guy who was the chairman, who was the GMD of NNPC at that time, to come and appear before them. We have several of these corruption stories that are going on. We just read from a newspaper yesterday that the chief of staff took 54 billion naira from Nopre. We have allegations that he took 400 million naira from a person to sell a position that doesn't exist, fake agency, to him. Those are the real issues. And Nigeria's population that is in multidimensional poverty is about to increase from 100 million to 140 million people out of 200 million. Those are the statistics we should be looking at, not the ones that they are making up. Even their statistics section here, I don't know what they call it, something.
NBS, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics.
They have, if you look at what they have been churning out, they had variance with all these lies.
Okay, 1 minute, Mr. Sowore. The Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway. Yeah. You don't believe it's a legacy project? It's for the benefit of Nigeria. It will turn around. It's a magic that will do wonders for Nigerian economy.
I was the one who proposed that there will be a Badagry Calabar expressway that will start from the border. But so that you know, the Lagos Calabar Highway is not Tinubu's idea. It's not even my idea. It was the West Africa Coastal Highway that was established, I think, in 1985 or so. The section that Tinubu started from Lagos was supposed to start from Ivory Coast and go all the way to Calabar. And subsequently, even was supposed to get up to South Africa if they did it. It was supposed to be accompanied by a fast train. So what Tinubu did, he was building a bundugu. What's the bundugu? It's called a co-Atlantic. Yes. It's supposed to be some land that bigger than Victoria land that they are recovering from the Atlantic Ocean. Foolish idea, because why are you recovering land from Atlantic Ocean when there's land, dry land in your country? But let's wait for a moment and say it made sense. It was for Tinubu to connect that bundugu with another real estate that you people don't really know much about that belongs to them, Dangote Refinery, and the Lagos export zone in the airport area. And they are planning also in an airport in that area. So this idea was primarily to construct that 47 to 50 kilometer to connect that place. It was your outcry, my outcry, and the revelations that we had that made them to extend it to Calabar, and they started now digging. I can predict, and I'm not a prophet of doom, that these guys will not even do 400 kilometers before they pack up. You know, it will be one of the White Elephant projects. They're also building another one from Sokoto.
Yes, but I agree to Sokoto.
Do I want this? These are things I predicted and want to do. In fact, my own idea of an interstate highway for Nigeria is for every state to be connected by dual carriageway. That was how America revived its country. And to have a triangular highway, which will be Badagry to Calabar, and from Calabar to Sokoto, and Sokoto back to Badagry. But it should not be a no-bid contract. And secondly, we should have considered, instead of just a highway, high-speed trains, so that I can kick off my shoes and travel from Lagos to Calabar in 4 hours, which Morocco and Algeria is still doing. This World Cup that we're watching led me to watch the train system in Morocco, Senegal. These are countries that technically are not in any way close to even the economy of Lagos. And because of their desire to build the Lagos-Calabar Expressway in their own way, which is shady and opaque, they did not do environmental impact assessment. And without doing that, you cannot discover the volume of water that needs to come in.
Though they said they have anyway, they said they did.
Well, this Lagos flooding that happened recently has been connected to the horrid manner the road was built, because there's probably not enough drainage. Yes, if you go to Eco Atlantic, they have a massive drainage there. It's already falling apart, So whomever is living in Lagos, I'll predict again, you better go and learn how to do scuba diving. Because I'm a geographer. That's my first degree, and we did a whole year of what they call geography of Lagos State, and we had seen all this. I'm a town and regional planner. I did groundwater hydrology, and I can tell you that the interferences that are happening in terms of this incompetent development is going to imperil human life. What I would have done differently, just so that Nigerians would know, is that I would have built that highway. And if you look at the one they are building now, very small. Mine would have been 6 lanes on both sides. But I would have also built 1 million houses along that, so that it would be a linear settlement, well-planned, great drainage, has its own schools, airports, what I call mixed income housing. Rich and the poor can live together. Because the idea of a rich man living in a place and the poor living, far away and trying to get to work should not even exist.
We'll come back and talk about it some other time. But let me ask you quickly. The First Lady, Senator Remi Tinubu, trying to help Nigerians economically, advised that Nigerians should not resist the idea of dabbling into small-scale businesses, frying akara, bean cakes in English, in local parlance we call it akara.
Yes.
Frying akara, selling kuli, roasting corn, and all of that. Take this together, respond to that, and also the president's media advisor, Daniel Bwala, over the weekend said at a program in Lagos, Moriah showed that a Nigerian who earned 60,000, way below the minimum wage 70,000 naira, is fares better than anybody in the UK who is earning 2,600 pounds sterling a month. Respond to this.
These are people who are confused, and their level of confusion is beclouding their sense of reasoning. Right? The truth is that you can't blame Madam Tinubu. She doesn't understand the meaning of small businesses or small-scale businesses. As far as she's concerned, small-scale businesses are businesses that are in front of your door. That's not small-scale business. In fact, technology has advanced so much now that if Nigeria had electricity, right, had its infrastructure in place, a lot of people could be working with companies abroad without you knowing them, and they'll be living better. But MTN is going to kill you. Airtel, there was a girl who was crying the other day that she was working abroad, but one of the projects she was doing got taken away because data was a problem. So they're not thinking futuristically. They are cocooned to feel that the people who are frying akara and kuli kuli those are not small business people. Those are people who are trying to survive. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with baking beans. In fact, it is possible these days for you to bake beans without anybody knowing that you are doing it from in front of your house. Technology can make you bake beans, deliver it to people across, and you can become a millionaire. But like I said, she's speaking to her base. They are campaigning, and they are campaigning to the poor to keep having the hope that one day they will make it. It's just like going to a church. One church I watched one day, one guy was saying, by next year, everybody in this church will have a Rolls Royce. And everybody said, amen. And over 2,000 people there. And if I was in the church, I would have raised up my hand and, Pastor, how many Rolls Royces do they make a year? Why are you praying for us to have 2,000 Rolls Royces in this church, knowing that only 109 of them is made worldwide? Exaggerating. But I'm just using that as a metaphor to describe how they raise the hope of the poor so that they will go and vote for them again. Regarding Daniel Bwala is as confused as anybody. He's a very good friend of mine, but this is his own desperate moment to shine. If you are saying that somebody who is earning 60,000 naira in Nigeria is better than somebody who is, and that means you don't understand what they call quality of life. And without understanding quality of life, then you can't understand what wages and income has, that the role they have to play. Let's do this. Let's place Daniel Bwala on minimum wage, 77,000 naira per month. And if you ever hear from him again,